Welcome back to Sports Charlotte. I am your host, Ashley Mahoney, and joining us, we have returning guest, goalkeeper, Charlotte Independence player, and Charlotte native, Brendan Miller. Brendan, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
Good. We've had an extra cup of coffee because it's that kind of day, and we're hydrating. We are getting through. So I see that you have a Liverpool shirt on. Is that correct?
It is. I have I got this. I was in England over Christmas, and I got some paraphernalia. I got a mug downstairs. I got my T-shirt. I got a few pairs of socks. I got a few different things. Yeah.
Nice. Now, are they from Anfield, or were you not in Liverpool itself?
Unfortunately, this time I wasn't at Anfield. I went to Anfield back in 2011. That was the one time I've been to Anfield. But this year we were in London, and I actually went to a Spurs match on my birthday, December 26th.
That is a really good way to celebrate your birthday, and your birthday happens to fall on Boxing Day, so I mean,
Exactly. The
it is
best day of the
a
year.
celebration. Yes. Well, hopefully, before we know it, the travel bans will be lifted. We'll be able to travel some more, have a chance to go back over there. And Anfield, I have to say, as much as as a United supporter, cringe a little bit, it is a beautiful, beautiful stadium. There's something about it where you can hate the club all you want, but you just have to set foot in there and you appreciate the history of the game and what the club has accomplished. And we won't let you enjoy it too much, just a little bit. That whole champions.
No, it definitely gave me chills being at Anfield. Just the pregame, singing "You'll Never Walk Alone" and just seeing the atmosphere outside the stadium, inside the stadium. It was definitely one of those experiences you won't ever forget.
I mean, I remember the first time that I saw Old Trafford and I cried. And I cried the second time I saw it. And everyone's like, what is wrong with you? I said, you don't understand. This moment is greater than, even if I get married someday, this is going to be greater than my wedding day.
Yeah,
So we just need to soak this in. They're like, yeah, but you're crying. Why are you crying? You don't understand. But it's okay. From one football junkie to another, you get it. It's just
yeah, exactly.
But let's talk about the domestic game, and particularly last night and your win against North Carolina FC, the first time that the Charlotte Independence has beaten North Carolina FC since they joined USL Championship. And aside from that, it is only the second win against them in club history in that 2015 US Open Cup win. Does it feel nice to finally say, oh my gosh, they don't have our number anymore? That done it, it's happened, moving on.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good to finally get that monkey off the back. Kind of felt like the little brother in the relationship for the past few years, just getting beat up on consistently. And fair play to them; they've done well over the past few years to take advantage of some poor play from us, and they've built some pretty strong teams. But it definitely felt good to finally show up on game day, have the team show up and put in a performance in a derby match and come out with a great result.
And not only that, but you got a clean sheet out of it, which as a keeper, that is always, one, winning, it's the goal, but two, to do it with a clean sheet in a derby, did it make it a little extra special on that end?
I won't say that it made it extra special. It's just one of those things again. You talk about like as a goalkeeper, you want to get shutouts, and that's my first shutout of the season. It took a lot longer than I was expecting it, or I wanted it to, but we were finally able to put a solid 90 minutes, 95 minutes together, and keep the other team off the score sheet for the first time this season, and hopefully we can take that momentum into our games. We got a lot of games coming up, so continue that hard work and keep getting shutouts.
You're in the midst of a 3-match week, and you played in Miami on Sunday. Came back from that with a 2-1 loss, won last night. Now you get to face group leaders Birmingham this weekend. Short turnaround for starters. How are you holding up with all of this? And we'll dive into the second part of that question in just a moment.
I think, I mean, for me, it's a little bit different than the field players. I don't quite have the physical load that they have for 90 minutes throughout the game. So physically, I feel great. And for me, I was just thinking about it this morning during our recovery session. I kind of like the opportunity to just get back to playing, just, play, recover, play, recover, just keeps me, sharp, and I get to perform on a consistent basis. But I know it's tougher for the field players. They've got a much tougher load through 90 minutes, and their bodies are taking a lot more um, throughout the 90-minute game. So it's just about taking care of your body. It's a mental challenge as well as a physical challenge right now, but I think we're up for it.
In addition to the mental aspect of the game, there is a tweet that you posted about 16 hours ago at the time of this recording that I'm going to read. And you tweeted, "Drove to the locker room unsure about what I wanted to do. Sat at my locker for 30 minutes trying to figure out the best decision. I too am struggling to focus on a game when there are bigger issues at hand. I'm glad we won, but don't let that distract you from the bigger battle." And for those of you who are listening and thinking, all right, what's that tweet about? You may live under a rock. That's okay. We're here to educate you. And the shooting of Jacob Blake in Wisconsin on Sunday has raised the question of everyone. There were statements that were released after George Floyd was killed in May. And there was a lot of action taken, and the conversation centered around social justice. And it seemed like just for a moment, things had the potential to change or at least move forward. Less than 3 months later, here we are again. And yesterday, the Milwaukee Bucks sparked a movement across not only the NBA, but MLS, Major League Baseball, the WNBA, and so forth, of players saying right now the sport is not the focal point, but if saying that tonight players will not perform their respective jobs, if you will, and that right now sports need to be on pause and people need to turn their attention to the fact that there is a problem with an unarmed Black man being shot 7 times in the back in front of his children, and that being quote unquote normal, because there's nothing normal about that. Talk to me a bit about that tweet and your decision to play last night.
I mean, throughout the day, seeing what was going on in the NBA, specifically starting with the Milwaukee Bucks. As a athlete, as a Black man, I want to stand in solidarity with the other people who are fighting the same fight that I am. And so it was an internal struggle. I'm in the car, I'm driving there. Not on, should be on my phone, but seeing things on my phone about other NBA players not playing, other NBA teams not playing, and potentially same thing happening in MLS. And it's an internal struggle. Like I want to be with them. I want to stand in solidarity with them. We want to make an impact. But at the same time, I have to realize what my impact is and how I use my platform to impact. And currently, right now, I use my platform to play in order to impact, the Heal Charlotte organization and raise money for their organization, because they're doing amazing things in the Charlotte community. And just today, I was able to donate $30 to Heal Charlotte. My business was able to donate $30 to Heal Charlotte, and we've raised a good amount of money through the donations each game from fans and other people who have decided to match those donations. And so, I'm thinking, do I want to take that away from Heal Charlotte, which is going to help them in their target goal of raising $10 million for affordable housing, which is a massive crisis in the Charlotte community that many people may not know about. Like if you don't pay attention, or if you don't drive by Tent City every single day like I do, then you don't understand. You may not have quite the understanding that there's a lot of homelessness, and there's a lot of people who don't have. And Heal Charlotte is an organization that's helping these people. And if I can help Heal Charlotte by playing, then that's something that I feel like I need to do. And so it's a struggle. We don't want to ignore what's going on, and by no means am I going to do that. But I want to figure out how I can impact beyond a symbol or a gesture of simply sitting out a game.
Did you have conversations with your teammates prior to the match about potentially sitting out, or was it a matter of kind of an understanding that the match was going to happen?
I didn't have any conversations with anyone prior to the game. It was more so me sitting in my locker and just trying to figure out what I wanted to do as a human being who was struggling from seeing, the video of Jacob being shot in the back, or seeing the video of the militia in Wisconsin, and the murders that happened then. It's tough to deal with. It's tough to see. It's tough to consistently have to take that in. So I think it's a discussion that we will have as a team, to see where we think our biggest impact is, and how we can really amplify the movement, the message, and really impact our community. If that's by sitting out, then maybe that's something we make a decision as a team. But I think the decision has to be made as a team, as opposed to one or two players sitting out.
And this is something where for some people, they'll look at other sports, whether that's, basketball, football in the NFL, and they'll say, oh, well, there's a semblance of normalcy because training camp is going on, or because the playoffs are here, or something of that nature. And saying things have gone back to, end quote, normal over the last 3 months, versus players like yourself and Hugh Roberts, who have continued to push this rally cry, this battle cry of there's a problem, it needs to be addressed. Here are the steps that are being taken by us to be a catalyst for change, not just people who are saying change needs to happen, but like you said, the work you're doing with Heal Charlotte, the work that he has done in starting a foundation, and just continuing to make sure that it's a daily mission, not just something when it's appropriate on social media. What, in the meantime, do you want people to know about the work for not only yourself, not only for Hugh, but perhaps as players with this club going forward?
Well, I think it's just that, like, the work that we're doing is to avoid going back to normal, because normal wasn't working for a large number of people in society, and it's quite easy to, and I found myself at times, I've done it before, where you go back to your house and you live in your own world, your own bubble. You don't see what's out and around you. You kind of get away from the world. But it's and for me, I feel it's selfish for me to do that anymore, because I can't ignore the plight of the people who look like me, and others who may not look like me, who are struggling and need help. And so normal is just not something that we can go back to. I kind of look at it like we're at this point in society, we're kind of peeling off a Band-Aid, and we can either kind of slap that Band-Aid back on and just go back to the way things were, or we can actually try and address the wound. And it's going to be painful. It's going to hurt. It's not going to be what we want to do. It's going to be uncomfortable, but once the wound heals, then we can build something better, right? Something that's more inclusive for everyone, and something that works better for everyone. And we won't have to, as often address these issues of police brutality, or address these issues of homelessness, or people going hungry, or poverty. Like, these are issues that can be addressed, and there's not just a quick fix to it, but it's issues that we can address and make better. It's just that we have to be willing to address them, and actually say that they're happening, and say that they're real.
A lot of focus over the next several months will turn toward the election, and the presidential election, as well as everything else that trickles down from that in November. Do you have plans to get involved with, voting advocacy or anything of that nature over the next couple of months? I see you smiling now. If you're listening to this, you can't see his smile, but if you could, just turn a smile into, I don't know, what's the best way to turn a smile into something people can hear on a podcast? Explain the smile. I'm very intrigued to find out what the smile means.
It's because it's one of those things. Like, I very much so plan to get involved with voter registration, voting advocacy things. Voter education is the biggest part for me. I've never been a fan of telling everyone, hey, go vote, just go vote. Like, I think you need to educate yourself on what you're voting on, so that you can fully make an informed decision. But on the other side of it, I have to be cognizant of how much I take on, because I don't want to spread myself too thin, and therefore, Heal Charlotte's not getting the attention that it needs, or the Young Investor Society is not getting the attention it needs, or the what's really important is my soccer career, is not getting as much attention as it needs, and so I do plan to get involved. I do have some things in the works that hopefully we can not so much announce, but roll out sometime in the next month or so. So I'll keep you updated.
Well, we will certainly be bugging you and having you back on the podcast to discuss that. And you mentioned Young Investor Society, which for those of you who are subscribers to our Tuesday QCFC newsletter, you've already read about this. But if you're just hearing about it for the first time, we're here to catch you up. So you are part of the Young Investor Society, which is designed to bring financial literacy into particularly low-income Title I schools and kids who may not necessarily have those resources or people who can share that knowledge with them at home. We've spoken about this before, but why get involved with financial literacy, particularly for high school students?
Particularly for high school students or low-income neighborhood schools, Title I schools that you mentioned, I wanted to get involved because I didn't go to a Title I school. I graduated from a private school here in Charlotte. I went to a good university, graduated from there. And I consider myself a pretty well-educated guy, and I had no clue what I was doing when I bought a house, my first house back in 2017. Didn't really know much about what I was doing in 2018 when I bought a house, or 2019 when I bought the house I currently live in. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, why is that? Like, why don't I have the knowledge that I need to accurately navigate a mortgage loan or a car loan, or the financial literacy for saving and investing and things like that. And like, if I don't have that coming from the background that I come from, I can only imagine the level of inadequacy that's in other neighborhoods where they're not having conversations about money, or they don't, have the resources necessary to educate them. And so I think, if I can, this goes back to a lot of what I do, why I have prime focus goalkeeping, or why I do what I do with coaching. It's like, I want other people to have an easier path than I had, right? And so if we can educate these high school youth on certain things, like buying a house, like investing, like these are things that are going to come up in their life in 1, 2, maybe 5 years, right? So if they can gain that knowledge now and start saving for those things, or be better prepared to understand interest rates and things like that, like, it's just going to elevate the knowledge base in that neighborhood, and hopefully that can turn into better business owners, which will then funnel more resources into the neighborhood.
Heading into, or flipping it back over toward the soccer side now, but when you look at your final match of August, you get 7 in September. That's a lot. That is a lot in a very short span of time. What are you preaching, particularly to younger guys who may not have experienced this before? Maybe they're very new in their professional careers. When you talk about some of the local guys like Shalom Duty, center back who is from the area, signed with the Independents, or someone like Tresor, I'm going to butcher his last name, I apologize ahead of time, Mabayo. But, these are kids who are very young in their careers, and to be basically baptized by fire with a pandemic situation for starters. You're in there, say preseason's going great, you play your opening match, and then you're on hiatus for 4 months. And then you turn and you have a very condensed regular season. How are you bringing them along and just saying, all right, it's going to be a lot. Here's how you navigate mentally. Here's how you navigate physically. The athletic trainers are your new best friends, and make sure you're seeing them after training and things like that.
I think I actually think it's a lot easier for them because they don't really know what a regular professional season is like, and the grind of going from March or early February until hopefully late October, early November, right? So then they had I don't even know, 10-week break in between, something like that, 10, 12 weeks. So like they don't really understand, or they don't physically have that feeling of, oh, I'm exhausted because we're what, a month and a half into this to the restart. And so that's a little bit different than being in, the end of August during a regular season. So I think for them, it's not so much a physical grind, just the mental grind of getting used to, you know, you're most likely going to get more playing time and more opportunities in this situation where we have to play Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. Like that's when you have to have everyone. So it's just being mentally prepared to come on and do your job, do a job when you're called upon, because you are going to be called upon.
And speaking of that, you have all-time leading goal scorer Dane Kelly up top, getting the job done. And then you have the addition of Christian Cheney, as well as, I mean, you've got Enzo Martinez. Everyone's very familiar with him. But when you look at the guys that you have up top, bringing Christian in last week, bringing in the younger guys, what's the dynamic like up there in terms of saying, all right, maybe you're not going to have Dane play every minute because that's a lot of minutes, especially for someone who has played in the league as long as he has, versus, someone who's 25 like Christian, or someone who's even younger like Trisor, or someone who's somewhere in between like Enzo.
I think it's one. I think it's good for Dane. Like you said, he doesn't have to carry the load for the entire season, especially with these games being back to back. But it gives these younger guys the opportunity. Christian's been in the league and scored goals in this league, and I think he's back in the league to try and prove he can do it again. And I think he's someone who can. But to take the load off of Dane and allow them the opportunity to get their moment to shine and perform for the team. I think it's huge, especially for a young guy like Trey to see the level that he's competing at, and knowing that he can compete and perform at this level. Getting these opportunities right now will be big for him. And I mean, Dane's Dane. He's the all-time leading goal scorer. He's going to get opportunities. He's going to create, and he's going to score goals. And so you kind of just need someone else to help pick up the load as well, because it can't just be Dane carrying the squad through the season.
Well, still waiting for that inaugural Dane Kelly Charlotte Independence hat trick, because he's still got 8 more matches to go, and that's just the regular season. He's got time. If you guys make the playoffs, and you're in prime position right now to make the playoffs, see what happens.
Yeah, it's coming.
Well, hey, as always, Brendan, we appreciate you joining us on Sports Charlotte. It is a pleasure, and we'll have to do it again very, very soon, because it is that time of year. Everything is just moving very quickly. How can people get involved with not only your work with Prime Focus Goalkeeping, your brand, as well as Heal Charlotte and Young Investor Society? How can people get involved with all of that?
You can just go to my social media page, my personal page, DVO26. TWOSIX, and I post a lot of stuff about, especially with Heal Charlotte, after every single game, just posting the donation link to get as many people to match as possible. And my athlete page on Facebook or my Twitter, my social media pages will always have information on the organizations that I'm working with, and as well with Prime Focus Goalkeeping. I use the brand as well to donate, impact the community as much as possible. But if you want to see more about that, you can go to Prime Focus GK on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. There's always something up on there.
Well, fantastic. As always, appreciate you joining us, and make sure that you head over to thecharlottepost.com. Head over to the QCFC tab under sports. You can check out all of our soccer specific content there. You can sign up for our QCFC newsletter every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. Or you can stop by the Post if you're old school and you're like, I want a physical copy of the paper. The paper just came out today. unless you're listening to this tomorrow or the day after, in which case it did not. But the August 27th edition is our last edition of August. You can pick up the next copy on September 3rd because that will be our first one of September. We're talking September. I need another cup of coffee. Until next time, I'm your host, Ashley Mahoney. Brendan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.